And it is great to be here. And we have welcome to the Four Corners Project studio here in Beit Shemesh, Israel. And we have a great guest. We are continuing our series of interviews this week because of the 9 days between the new moon of Av, the first day of Av, and Tisha BAV. So we are doing only interviews and no actual musical performances, as you guys know. But we have with us, we have had a great week. We had Jordan Hirsch on Monday night. Last night we had Brian Gelfand. Last week we had Romy Weisberger. And now the coup de grace, the legendary.
I've been called worse.
Yes. Jonathan Rimberg in studio.
Yeah, Lenny.
Yeah, it is great to have you. And we've got a great show. We've got a great show for you guys out there. We are going to do a nice, as we say, we're going to jog Jonathan's memory.
Please do. Yes, it's a little loose in here.
Because he was involved with so much schlock rock, and even before schlock rock, and even before Kesher.
Wow.
You know, he had an impact on me, which is interesting, which he didn't even know about, which we're going to tell him. First thing is, I want to remind everybody out there, as you are watching this show, it's the 130th show since last June 22nd, 2020. I want you to, if you're watching from Facebook, I want you to give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you're watching from YouTube, subscribe and leave us a comment. If you're watching from LinkedIn, make sure you leave a comment and pass it around. And of course, same thing with Twitter, at Lenny Solomon. We are going to 8 channels, Johnny. We're going to 8 channels at the same time.
Amazing.
It really is.
You're the man to do it, Lenny.
Well, you know, you have to reinvent yourself, as they say. And being that I'm a rock and roll musician that went on tour for many, many, many years, as you know, because you were on many of those shows with me.
Yes.
You know, when there are no shows, you either find another day job. You either have to find a day job, or you try to find yourself another niche in the Jewish music field.
Right. Reinvent yourself.
Exactly. And so Lenny Solomon Live is that reinvention, or at least part of it. It's only part of it.
You've always got something up your sleeve.
Well, and there are long sleeves today, as it's Anaheim Ducks night. Anaheim Ducks, for all of you Southern California people or people living in Irvine. You know, there's a big Jewish community in Irvine. Have you ever played any shows or any weddings in Irvine, California?
I have not. Not yet.
But you have played in L.A.
With you.
Oh, you played in L.A.? I'm sure you played in L.A. Yes.
No,
you remember when
you
we went
out?
Moshe
Shore?
No, with me. We went out to L.A. We did a show for Brian Thor. You remember that?
Yes. I do.
Me and you. We went. It was just me and you. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I remember that.
Right.
So you jogged my memory. So, but let's go back. Let's go back first to MTA.
Wow.
MTA, which is your high school and my high school.
My first high school, but yes.
We played together when I was a senior and you were a sophomore at a Rosh Chodesh thing. I don't even know if you remember that.
I was only in MTA for a year and a half, so it had to have been the beginning of 10th grade.
Yep. And I was a senior. So, and I was playing accordion and you were playing
guitar, maybe?
Playing guitar or keyboard, maybe, right?
In the calf.
Yeah. In the cafeteria.
Yeah.
So that was the first time we played together. And the first time we
was you?
The first time we actually met. First time we actually met. And that's unbelievable.
Really?
But the truth is that we, you know, I come from Queens, you come from New Jersey, and we each made our way into Jewish music, which is really quite amazing. You know,
we're still here all those years later. It's remarkable.
It really is. It really is. Why don't you tell our listeners what your first instrument was and how you picked it, and how you became, you know, a little bit about how you became a musician.
Well, my parents didn't give me a choice. When I turned 8 or 9 years old, they said, "What will it be?" And my first instrument was trumpet, believe it or not.
Wow.
My first trumpet teacher was Mr. Jury. He used to come to the house. I played trumpet, and it lasted about 3 years. And there were other people in my family, particularly my father and my brother, who would play some piano and play some guitar. And I said, I can do that. Just sort of copy them, and Am Yisrael Chai and whatever
Yeah.
was the music at the time. My mother, she still plays some piano at home, but she was an accomplished pianist in her day. So she was my first piano teacher. I think actually even before I was 9 years old. I think when I was 5 or 6, my mother taught me piano. But you shouldn't really take lessons from your parents. That it didn't go like for too long. But so we put the piano on the side. We picked up the trumpet, and eventually I had it with the trumpet. I switched back to guitar, even more than piano. And it was guitar when I was 13 and 14. And somewhere along the way, the piano crept in. And
Because
I
right
guess
now, I would say that piano is really
piano is
your
taken
your
over.
first
Yes.
instrument, right?
Piano is now officially my first instrument. I play guitar reluctantly at times.
Well, you played guitar on I'm trying to remember on the Amuna album. You played guitar.
Some, yeah.
Yeah. You
Eliyahu. What's Eliyahu is on
Jewish Pride.
Jewish Pride, yeah.
Eliyahu.
Right.
Yeah, that was one of
That was
the
me.
most classic Jewish songs. One of the classic songs that we ever made. Just fantastic.
Yeah.
But let's go first. Before we go into that, let's go into Judea, because Judea, for those
Wow.
that don't know, Judea was a band that came out, I'm going to say the early 80s. I'm going to say 81 or 82. Is that correct? Or 82, 83? Do you
Judea,
remember?
aka the band of the 80s. It's exactly when it was. Exactly.
And I went to your debut show at Brooklyn College. And again, I don't think we had really met properly at that time. But you, Gershon Varoba,
Right.
Shmuel
Shmuel
Ramras, I
Ramrod.
think, or Moshe Antelis.
Well, Shmuel was first.
Wow.
Shmuel was in the Brooklyn College show. And then and what's his name? Antelis came on for the recordings. When I was a freshman at YU, I would go with my acoustic guitar in the subway to Brooklyn for the recording sessions of that album.
That was an amazing album. And you sang a bunch of leads, I think.
Yeah, I was 17 years old, so it had to have been the fall of 1980. I was 17 and a half years old, already in college. And yeah, it got me a free lunch, and some work and some shows, but more importantly, an introduction to the wedding business.
Which is really where you have made your living
Exactly, right. Since then, more or
yeah.
less. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And that it's amazing. It's really amazing. So Judea, for anybody out there, Judea is a must listen. It's a must listen. I still love listening to it. I love listening to Torah Forever and Hand of Hashem and
Great
Yismachu,
songs.
Horeini,
Yeah,
Gotta Go to Shir or Must Go to Shir, whatever it is. And
right. What
really,
else
there are a
was
lot
that?
of hit
World to
songs on
Come.
that.
World to Come.
The World to
Opening
Come.
side B of the LP, World to Come.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was Yerachmiel Begun. Did he write all those songs?
He wrote, yes, yeah, yep,
He
every
even wrote
single one.
Yismachu, or did Gershon write Yismachu?
No, I think it was all begun.
Unbelievable, because you could actually see Gershon writing something like that, and he
Yeah,
put
but
in
I
the.
sang lead for that, so it wouldn't make sense. If Gershon would have written it, for sure he would have sung lead on it.
Oh, that
But
is
that
true.
one was given to me, or at least part of it was given to me.
Right.
Which, well, I guess it could have gone either way, but I didn't know that Gershon. There was even a thought that he wrote it.
Well, you know who played piano on that? Gershon played piano.
On that album, mostly Gershon, right? I
Yeah,
played.
because what he did was he put in that riff from Root Beer Rag. In Yismachu.
Yeah.
Yismachu Hashem. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right on.
That's what
Right
it
on.
was. So I really thought it was him writing that song.
Yeah, very
Oh,
interesting.
Ethan Bill is checking in. Ethan Bill saying hello.
Yeah, there he is. Oh, Rimberg. Ethan's working with us in the wedding scene a week from Sunday.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Ethan Bill. He's the man. He's
So
great
I am
drummer now.
actually coming into New York August 1st to August 15th.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be doing some recording at Ethan's. I'm in the middle of recording an album by him, the 40th album. This is my 40th album.
Wow.
Not including Kesha, because we have but let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you and our relationship. So what happened was Kesha 1 was myself, Tzvi Pill, Shlomo Horowitz, and Joey Friedman. Now Kesha 2 was Joey Friedman, Yonah Lloyd, who replaced Shlomo Horowitz, me and Tzvi Pill. By the time we got to Kesha 3, Joey Friedman had gotten married and moved to Memphis, and we needed a replacement on bass, and you joined the band as the bass player / second keyboard player.
Right.
And we did an album together. That was I think that was really our first. No, it wasn't our first album, because that was 87. That was Kesha 3 was in 1987. In 1986,
you remember these dates?
I'm telling you now, because first thing is I am a date person. I am a very big date person.
Good.
Well, I'll tell you something very interesting. You were one of the few people involved with Schlock Rock 1, Learning is Good.
Yeah.
And we did all the sessions from midnight to 8 a.m.
Middle of the night. I remember that. Overnight.
And weren't you on the session? No, I don't think you were on the session with Eric Gale. You were on the session with High Holy Days. Didn't you play keyboard on High Holy Days? And Eliyahu on Avi. I think you played.
Oh man, you're asking me very.
You know what? I have it here.
Very hard question, Tony.
This is the insert.
What is that?
The insert to Learning is Good.
Okay, well, read the credits.
And let's take a look at the credits. It says,
played an organ solo in something.
All right, so you played guitar on something. You played guitar on here, and you also played keyboard. So
that's
interesting. Now, does it say what you played on? I don't think it does. We did not. So that was your. But you also sang backup, and you've been on more than 15 albums with us over the years. I mean, pretty much every one of the early albums, anything that we did at Steve Bill's studio, you were on.
Yeah.
I think you even did a little bit with Mick Cantarella. Like you were with Amuna and with Jewish Pride.
Yeah, definitely. Amuna, for sure.
And a lot of those early sessions were done midnight to 8 a.m.
Yes.
Which was
well, that level studio, you had to get a rate that you could afford. You know, you couldn't afford that at 4 p.m. That was too expensive. To get that quality record,
it's true. One of the famous stories. Oh my God, we have somebody from Australia. Jeanette from Australia is she's watching from Australia. Keep on schlocking, she says. Now, the funny thing is that Jonathan went to Australia before I did. You were in Counterpoint in 1985 and 84, was it, or 83? Because I was there 86, 87.
I think 1981 and 1985, maybe.
You went in 81?
Hold on, is that possible? Yeah, you know what? They needed a music guy last minute. Yes, I was 18 years old. Exactly. Yes, I went in 1981 with Rabbi Yosef Blau.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Did you go with Michael Fredman too, or no?
Yeah, that was 1985.
Right. So now I'll tell you something. Jeanette was one of my Counterpoint people from 1986. She was 86 and 87. She was one of my Counterpoint people, and she says maybe I met you too, Jonathan. You might have. Although Jeanette, you were in year 10 when I had you, so that would mean
so she was too young.
You were a little bit too young.
Yeah, too young. I missed her by a year.
Right. And I became friendly with her whole chevra, with all of her friends. It was really amazing. Melbourne, and going to Ballarat, you froze in Ballarat.
Yeah, it wasn't much heat there. They gave you some heat at night. We used to sleep literally in our sneakers and our winter coats with our hoods on and sleeping bags.
Yeah.
Because you knew when the heat went off at 11 or 12 o'clock, you'd be frozen by the morning.
I know.
Totally. Yeah,
when
we
I
met
was
so many people there, so many good people. For months, we would write letters all year, just keeping up with the correspondence.
so Jeanette writes, I love being called too young. I'm now 50.
You're too young. There, we've said it again.
You're Jeanette, you're 50. I'm 60. That's crazy because look at me. Do I look 60 to you guys? I don't think so.
No, not a day over 49.
Not a day over 26, actually. The
Uh,
more, if you wear hockey jerseys, you look young. Just remember that. Hockey jerseys keeps you young.
so, what was your excuse when you were 25?
I don't know.
You're wearing hockey jerseys and you were young.
Jeanette writes, yes, Ballarat was absolutely freezing. It was. Oh, Ballarat, Australia. And I didn't even have that on my notes to talk to you about it. But it's very funny
Wow,
because
terrible. Yeah, I mean, I was brought on really very young because everybody who went was like 21, 22, 24. And they didn't have a music guy. Like, I'm 18 and I was supposed to go back to camp for another year at Camp Hilo. I came home to my mother and I said, oh yeah, then they asked me to go to Australia, but I told them I can't go because I have to go back as a counselor. She says, you call him back, you're going to Australia. So I
that's
called
what
her
your
back.
mother. That's what your mother said.
Yeah, she said, what do you mean you're not going to go to Australia? Opportunities like that don't come up often.
It's funny. I'll tell you something interesting. Okay, so first thing is Jeanette says she's going back to sleep and she thanks us because really it's 5:18 and it's 5:18 a.m. in Melbourne right now.
Yeah, we almost missed the flight that year. You know who got married in June of 1981?
Who?
Joel Tesler, Rabbi Joel and Aviva Tesler.
Oh yeah.
We in Pittsburgh, and the bus driver fell asleep, and we almost didn't make it back to the flight to go to Australia.
When you say the bus driver fell asleep, did he almost
He fell
run
asleep
over?
in the hotel. I fell asleep in the hotel.
Oh, got it.
And he didn't make it back to the shore to pick everybody up. We literally ran to make the flight. Anyway, I'll never forget.
That's unbelievable. So we're going to say hello to Stuart Plotkin, who says that we look 22. All right, I look 22.
Excellent. I'm not shaving this week. Listen, I'm showing you. You should see me when I shave.
You look very young, actually. You do. All right, so let's see what I got here. Okay, let's talk about. So Learning is Good was an interesting experience because of the midnight to 8 a.m. thing, which we then did in Jewish Pride. We then did in Amuna, and it was also my first time. Learning is Good was my first time really being in charge because the other albums, the Kesher albums, I was partners with Tzvi Pill, and I really didn't, I didn't make decisions other than, we talked about harmonies. Me and you, when we did Kesher 3 together, we had me and you and Tzvi and Yona, but more me, you, and Tzvi talk about harmonies a lot,
Right.
divide up harmonies. You had some really nice songs. You had a nice song that you wrote on that album called Elecha, which is really, really nice. You remember? Elecha Hashem Ekra.
Oh my gosh.
V'yel Hashem Ezana.
Yeah, vaguely. Vaguely.
Why? It's a great song. Great chord changes. Great song.
I got to go back and listen to that music. Wow.
And then you sang the last track, one of my favorite songs that I've ever written, believe it or not.
Hodu Hashem.
Hodu Hashem Kito.
Yes.
Right? It's like the Love Boat. It's like the Love Boat goes Jewish. Right.
Love Boat. Totally. I could hear that. Yeah.
So
wow.
All right, so that Kesher, you went on the road with us a little bit. We did some touring together.
Yeah.
And I just found a videotape of us in YU playing in 1985, where we still have a lot of time to make up here in terms of we're in 1985 now.
Oh my gosh.
But that was a really fantastic show. And you were on one side of the room with a keyboard and bass, and I was on the other side with a 2-tiered keyboard. Yona Lloyd was in front, Tzvi Pill was in the back. And the place went wild. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
Those are those videos you shared with me, right? I have to.
Yeah, I shared. I have to. Right, I have to watch it too. I only watched the first 10 minutes. Yona watched the whole thing already.
Haven't seen it yet.
So
That's
okay,
cool.
now let's move on to Purim Torah, 1987. Steve Bill's first production with us, and you sing Under the Chuppah, which becomes one of the most classic shlock rock songs that we have ever had to this day. And And I remember I asked you to sing it because I didn't think that I could do it justice. You know, I was not a ballad guy. I've never been a ballad guy.
Crooner song. It's a crooner song.
Yeah, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it. Now I would feel much more comfortable, obviously. But it's let me see. It was 1987, so it's 33 years later. But you sang that song, and that was really one of the three out of that album. You had Achashverosh, you had Wash This Way, and you had Under the Chuppah. Those were the three, I think, hit songs from that album. And there were others as well, like We Believe in Hashem was big in South Africa when I went to South Africa. I'm just taking a look. Yeah. All Shook Up. We had the Elvis stuff. Amen with Eric Clapton. Yeah, had a lot of good songs on it. And then after that, you did Emuna with us.
Right.
Oh, and we sang together Esa Einai. Esa Einai Eleharim.
Wow.
You're either singing the high part or the low part. One of them. We split it.
I sang the low part.
And I'm right. Okay. So
yeah, the higher voice.
Yeah, at that time. I don't think I do. I think you have a
Who knows?
You're also a tenor.
Not exactly, but we'd stretch it.
So tell the audience about your wedding history and how you joined. What was your first? Was it with Nagina, with Ruach? Because you eventually became Neshama, and then you became Nafshenu.
Right.
So,
I mean, that basically sums it up over 40 years or so, literally. Again, through the Judaic connection, I had an intro into Nagina, and I was accepted and taken on and started working there. And they were kind of parallel together, some type of a relationship with Ruach, Sam Flavor and Ira Silber, Olav Shalom. And I did some playing and singing for them, in Nagina, kind of at the same time. And when I got back from Israel from my second year, I guess in 1985 or 86, Neshama scooped me up. And I became an insider and a partner and went with that whole track for many years and eventually went out on my own, about 23 years ago as a solo band, and then joined up with Aaron and Nafshenu about, I guess, around 20 years ago. We never looked back.
I remember. So you've actually been Nafshenu for 23 years?
No, I was on my own. As Kinor for 3 years after I left Neshama.
I remember, yes.
Then my current partner, Aaron Applebaum, left Neshama also, and we partnered up. It's about 20 years ago. 18, 20.
I just don't know where the
20
time
years.
goes.
I mean, I don't even know. It's got to be around 20. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And we have, between now and Rosh Hashanah, we're doing about 30 weddings as a band.
You are. Between now and Rosh Hashanah, Nafshenu's doing 30 weddings.
Yeah, 30 weddings.
Literally. So I'm sure that we will do around 30 Lenny Solomon live shows.
Listen, I'm going to have to, at this rate, we're almost out of time. I'm going to have to come back and do part B, if there's what to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about. We didn't talk about Hask yet. We didn't talk about the famous show at the Ramada Renaissance in 1991.
Oh, my God. Whoa.
You remember that?
Yes. It paid for my rental car for the month.
It did.
Yes.
Okay, so everybody, I'm going to tell the story because Avrami told the story a little bit. Now I'm going to tell the story also, and you'll chirp in. So what happened? Chime in. So what ended up happening was the boys, all four of us, were on vacation. Me, Johnny, Avrami Weisberger, and Shmuel Wasserman, Oliver Shalom. All four of us. Now, you guys made a joke that we should do a show, or Shmuel Wasserman apparently did, where he puts up a sign, Schlock Rock concert, day after Tisha BAV, here's a number. And the phone started ringing off the hook. And I said to Shmuel, Shmuel, people are calling this number. And so we got in the hold of Alan Freistadt, who was a band leader at the time. And we got set up with the Ramada Renaissance where their guests came in for free, and everybody who came in would pay an admission. Everybody outside would pay an admission. And what's usually done is you usually get a fee, and you pay the band, and then I keep the remainder of the money. That's how the band leader works. Always with the wedding too, you play the musicians, and then the band leader keeps the money. So the thing is that this time though we didn't do that. We split it 4 ways because I said, how many people can possibly come? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
800 people showed up. You remember we played a show for 800 people at the Ramada Renaissance with no advance ticket sales. Just
Amazing.
walk in.
I don't remember the numbers, but I just remember leaving with a wad of cash, and we went out to Agrippas, to the shawarma places, and we paid for everybody's dinners, and
yes,
it was great. Wow,
it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
That was one of the
good times.
that was one of the great stories. That was one of the great stories. Now, also we had great stories with the Hask shows. You were on the first 2 Hask shows with me.
Just Hask 2. The second year they had
Hask 2, number 5, which was me, you, Seth, and Avrami, of course. Yeah. And that was a very nice show too. And that was when I was at my thinnest because I was about to get married.
Yeah. Do you know that, after they have these big productions and big concerts and they record them live, usually all of the singers and even some musicians, because they do a multi-track recording, they go back to the studio and they have to fix and re-record and this and that. The only people who didn't have to go back, I'm not saying like the trumpet player had to go back, but of all the singing, from what I heard at the time, the only people who didn't have to go back were the vocalists, were the choir, the harmony singers.
I know, because
we were spot on. I mean, we did our parts.
Yes,
and that was it. The recording was there.
And what the funny thing was is that we were me, you, and Avrami, and Mark Infield, and all those guys were one of. We would do albums for other people too.
Yeah, tons of albums.
You remember when we did the Abarbanel commercial? I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Me and you, where I was hired by the Abarbanel Wine Company.
Yes. Yeah.
And they had us do a 30-second commercial. Fresh Merlot, right?
Oh,
I can't remember the words, but we did a 30-second or a minute commercial. It was me and you. We went to Mick Cantarella's studio, all a cappella, just a cappella.
That's funny.
And we did it.
Wow. I remember the original. Did I sing on the original of that? On the album?
You did.
Yeah, wow.
You did.
Wow.
That's right. That's me. That's right. So it was me and you. I think it was just me and you. I think it was just
the
me
original?
and you. I don't think any of the other guys sang.
Yeah, it could be.
Because we had 4 tracks or,
Yeah.
We had 16. I think it was a 16-track studio.
Yeah, it wasn't much double tracking of those vocals. It was kind of just straight out, like the original.
Right. So before you're right, we're gonna have to have you back for part 2 of this. But I want to just say a couple of things. Number one is to everybody out there, I want you to let me see, Judy. Wait, Judy is saying something. Let me just see. I want to. I learned with Mrs. Rimberg with Rabbi Yudin.
My mother. She's talking about my mother.
Oh, okay. So she learned with your mother with Rabbi Yudin. And there's another message coming in. Oh, amazing music history. Well, this is Jewish music history for us. It certainly is.
It is.
But I want to tell everybody that next week we're going to be going back to music. Monday night we'll be having a music show. And then I'm not sure about the rest of the week. You'll just check in with me on Monday night as we finish the 9 days. And this is a very hard time for musicians. There's no work really. And although sometimes it's you need that vacation. You need the 3 weeks off.
Yeah, you try to get away a little. I mean, we're in prep mode for all these weddings coming up, so I'm actually busy in my office, but we don't have to go out in the field. So, you get a decent night's sleep and you can exercise and, kind of hang out with your family and whoever's around. People are away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. That is true. And I pretty much have been here all year. because we have not gone on the road this year, which is very unusual. As you know, I since making Aliyah in 1996, I went on the road every 6 to 8 weeks. I would go on the road, and I would come in, and I would always give you a call, and sometimes we would get together.
Yeah.
Sometimes you would come in the studio. I mean, we didn't even discuss all the albums you were on. To Unite All Jews, Lenny and the Schlockers, Sergeant Schlocker's Magical History Tour. We're coming back. Bring back that Shabbos feeling. I think you were on Woodschlock as well, although I'm not sure. You might have missed Woodschlock. You weren't on Manual for the Moral-Minded. You were on the Greatest Hits, Volume 1. Schlockrock Meets the Prophets. I'm not sure about that one, but you were easily on 15 of our albums, easily.
Not a bad percentage.
Very good percentage. Very
I'll
good
take
percentage.
I'll take it.
And it was really a lot of fun, and we should just keep going and do great musical things, because Jewish music is. I grew up on Jewish music, even though I'm. Obviously I'm a rock and roller, and I like secular music as well, but I think Jewish music of the 70s and 80s was fantastic, and we have to keep that style going. I think that today's music is not as good as it was in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, it's different. It's what the young people listen to, so that's what they copy, but there's a big audience for more traditional style of Jewish music. Definitely. We want to do that song. You said, remember, we're going to do a duet. We have to get on that. I'm redoing my studio. I'll be up and running again in a few weeks, and we got to just come up with the right song, and we're going to record, you and I.
All right, I'm there. It's for sure.
Yep. We just need the right song.
All right, everybody. I want to wish everybody a easy fast and a good Shabbat. We reconvene back here at 11 p.m. Israel time, 4 p.m. East Coast on Monday night for the musical show after Tisha BAV, and actually it's 2 days after. It's 1 day, 24 hours after Tisha BAV ends. And I want to thank Jonathan Rimberg for coming into the studio.
My pleasure.
Sharing our memories, and we had lots more to share.
Yeah, we have more. Let's do it again sometime.
We will. We'll do it again. It's later on this year, and I want to wish you success in everything and all of your musical endeavors, and in the wedding season.
Thank you. You too. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Drop me a line when you're in, and we'll convene.
We'll do that. Keep on schlogging, everybody. Have a great night, and we will see you.
Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
All right.